Would you willingly feed your kids poison? Would you willingly poison yourself? Well, that's kind of a touchy subject, and I thought I'd do a different kind of video today about how my brain works and show you in real time. And firstly, I was kind of, it's the COP28, and I wanted to show the hypocrisy and the irony of what they're trying to do and how they're demonizing meat and vilifying saturated fat and cattle and how it's about. So that sort of led me into some things. So what we're going to do today, we're going to figure out the process of these seed oils and why and how they're bad for you, potentially. This is going to be my opinion. And then we're going to go into a little bit of a sidetrack because it kind of rabbit hole dug me into the cholesterol conundrum, which we're all blown every day by these claims. Let's get into it. Like always, this is Anthony Stewart. This is Food for Thought, and we're questioning everything they've ever said. And today we are questioning a few things. I am not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I am currently on a health journey. I've been able to resolve my health. I feel great every day. I have incorporated an animal-based, at sometimes pure carnivore diet. And I wanted to basically show today that do a little venture through the internet about how it's hidden in plain sight and how these things are very, if you just read between the lines, and I'm not trying to tell you to do anything. I'm just going to point out some things and how my logical brain works about nutrition and what's good for you. And the poison thing, I'll let you decide. Okay, so firstly, we're going to look at this irony. Fossil fuels are the big topic of the day. Well, if you look at this picture, I'll put it in, I'll edit it in. That looks like a fossil fuel plant. It's actually a canola oil refinery. So you can already see what that's all about. Then this is a traditional olive oil press. So obviously I'm animal based. I don't eat a lot of olive oil, but just looking at this picture shows that it's a lot more natural. I mean, you could machine it, obviously include some power. We're not getting into the semantics here. We're just stating the facts. If you wanted to get traditional olive oil from a plant, you would have to put it in an expeller press, and it's cold pressed. That we'll tie into that after. Same thing with this traditional coconut oil press. So, there is some good saturated fat in coconut oil, which we'll get into again, because we're showing that it's all built on a house of cards. If saturated fat does not cause high cholesterol, high LDL cholesterol, which does not cause atherosclerosis or heart disease, everything falls down. And I'm gonna show you how my brain works. And first of all, cholesterol is an essential. Without it, we're dead. So cholesterol is very important. It's so important that our body makes 75, I think, to 95% of our cholesterol. And the LDL and HDL are not cholesterol. They are the carriers of it. And I'm going to explain some stuff. We're going to get into some things why it might not be a good idea to drop those levels and why and maybe how it's happening. So first of all, we're going to get into the canola oil. And once again, we're going to ask an expert. And this is from the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. So ask the expert. Concerns about canola oil. And this is something you should share with everybody because I'm gonna try and bring in some rational thought into this. Here's the question. And the expert is Dr. Guy Crosby. Thanks, Guy. Thanks for stepping up. Thanks for being at Harvard. All right. I'm confused about whether canola oil is healthy. I know that it's a polyunsaturated fat, which I'm told is good. But then I also hear that I should stay away from it. Here's some of the claims. Most canola oil is chemically extracted using a solvent called hexane, and heat is often applied, which can affect the stability of the oil's molecules, turn it rancid, destroy omega-3s in it, and can even create trans fats. Basically, what that means is when this oil is heated, it becomes volatile and flips to trans fats. Now, we're not going to go really deep into trans fats, but basically what happens is on a polyunsaturated fat, the unsaturated means there's double bonds where an oxygen can tie. This is a little bit of chemistry, but basically it's prone to oxidation. Okay, so it gets volatile. It's not good. All right, so when these double bonds oxidize, it turns the fat into bad stuff. Okay, that's kind of the thing. When you do a trans fat, when you heat it, it flips and makes all these double bonds on the same side, which is extra bad. Okay, that's the layman terms. So cold pressed canola oil exists. This is from the article, but it's very expensive and hard to find. So we know now 100% this is refined in a big factory using chemicals 100%. Okay? Should I avoid canola oil, and what are the best fats in general for cooking? The top 4 vegetable oils consumed in the United States are soybean, canola, palm, and corn oil. These are referred to as refined, bleached, deodorized oil, or RBD for short, because this describes the process by which they're manufactured. All right? RBD oils are produced by crushing plant material, usually seeds, to express the oil, followed by an extraction of the crushed material with a low boiling solvent, most commonly hexane, to obtain the remainder of the oil. Canola oil is generally okay, here's the trick. Canola oil is generally considered a healthy oil because it is very low in saturated fat. Like olive oil, but it's not, is high in monounsaturated fat. So already there's some discrepancies here, which is kind of like my flags go up. Canola oil also contains a significant level of polyunsaturated omega-3 fatty acid. Well, that's arguable, okay? Because already we don't know how volatile or how stable this oil is after the extraction. In addition, canola oil contains significant amount of phytosterols, which I'll explain. Cholesterol, animal kingdom. Phytosterol, plant steroids, phytosterols are plant cholesterol kind of thing that reduce the absorption of cholesterol into the body. We'll get into that later. Why do you think that is? Because it's taking over the absorption from the cholesterol absorption. So naturally, your cholesterol levels are going to go down. Kind of makes sense to me. As with many highly processed food products, there are concerns about the safety of canola oil. First is the use of solvents such as hexane to extract the maximum amount of oil from the seed. Hexane is a very volatile solvent with a very low toxicity. In rats, hexane has been used to extract oils from plant materials since the 1930s. And here's the trick. There is no evidence to substantiate any risk or danger to consumer health when foods containing trace residual concentrations of hexane are ingested. So there is no evidence that says it's bad, but there's also no evidence that's saying it's okay. It has been estimated that refined vegetable oils extracted with hexane contain approximately 0.8 milligrams residual hexane. I don't want that shit in my body. Whatever. It is also estimated the level of ingestion of hexane from all food sources is less than 2% of the daily intake from all other sources, primarily gasoline fumes. Wow, this is great. There appears to be very little reason for concern about the trace levels of hexane in canola oil. Show me the study, right? Another concern is the report that canola oil might contain trans fats that have been linked with significant health problems. They know trans fats are bad. And now there's another trick. If you have there's an allowance for trans fats in food. It has to be under a certain thing. So if the oil comes to you that's under that certain thing, you're able to market it, sell it, and you consume it. But what happens when you heat up the oil? It's already told us that when you heat up this oil, it becomes very volatile and can flip and turn into trans fats. So that's where the poison comes in. Think about how many times you go to a restaurant. How many times we know now they've all changed to vegetable oils. So they're using deep fryer vegetable oils. How often, and we're all economical, we all want to budget and save money. Do you think they're changing over the oil? We know fish and chips taste better when the oil's been used for the fries and the chips, the longer it goes. But what if, and this is my opinion, what if the longer that oil goes, heated, cooled, it's turning into trans fat, which is poisoning you. So I'm not making any claims here. I'm just stating what they tell us. And this is online. I'll put the link to this below. Another concern is, deodorization is the final step. What are they used for that? All vegetable oils. All. This process produces the bland taste that consumers want. So already it's not natural. They're deodorizing it to get rid of nastiness. So as a comparison to the fat of cattle and sheep, as well as milk obtained from cows, they contain about 2 to 5% of natural trans fat per percent of total. When canola oil is deodorized, it is subjected to temperatures above 200 degrees under vacuum for various lengths of time to remove volatile components such as free fatty acids, the bads, and phospholipids. During the exposure to these high temperatures, a small amount of the unsaturated fatty acids, especially the essential omega-6, linoleic, blah, 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 are transformed into trans fatty acid isomers, because earlier studies showing that even quite low levels of trans isomers can have adverse effects on blood cholesterol fractions. The process used for deodorization have been modified to limit the production of these compounds. So it's already showing you they're very safe. Other vegetable oils and even nut oils have been found to contain levels of trans fatty acids that are comparable to the levels of beef fat. The table below summarizes the content of trans fatty acids in a number of oils, in both canola oil, soybean oil, a lot of science. So then it goes to show us about the trans fat content. And I know this is just, it's all online here. So now we keep going. Now let's look at this again. Okay, so now we're going to look at what plant sterols are. Okay, here we go. No, so now we've looked at, okay, what is a phytosterol? No, okay, here we go. Phytosterols are natural products found in plants. Eating plant-based foods, phytosterols as a part of a healthy diet may help you lower your cholesterol levels. You can find phytosterols in fruits and vegetables. What does phytosterols do for the body? Phytosterols occur naturally in many foods that can be added to the diet with supplements. They can potentially help you to manage LDL cholesterol and your overall health through lower lipids. This is basically Wikipedia, so we're not getting into deep shit. This is just what it says. Now, do plant sterols affect the liver? Don't take plant sterols if you have cytocystolemia, which is plant sterols in the blood, toxic levels. How do we know what it is? Short bowel syndrome, a condition related to the removal of part of the gut. Plant sterols should be used cautiously in people with this condition. They might affect liver function. What are the negative side effects of plant sterols? Plant sterols are generally safe for most people. Side effects include diarrhea or fat in the stool. In people with this cystolelemia, high plant sterol levels have been associated with increased risk of premature atherosclerosis. Now, this is where we get into the testing of it. Let's look at this. Cystolelemia. So we Google this. It's a rare genetic disease that is caused by the fatty substances or lipids from plant-based foods such as nuts, vegetable oils, and accumulate in the arteries, likely increasing the risk of heart attack, stroke, and heart disease. Why is this not looked at? Because 1 out of every 3 people are going to die of a heart attack and heart disease. So right here, this should be researched, because maybe it's a developable, I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but maybe this cytosterolemia is, you're able to develop it. Maybe it's a condition. Maybe it's not just a genetic disease. Who knows? Why would they want to know this? Because that would just kibosh this whole house of cards. So let's look at how to tell. How do you know if you have cytosterolemia? Plant serum level is a serum plant sterol level is the standard method of diagnosing this. This test is generally a panel that looks at the levels of cytosterol, camptosterol, and stigmasterol. How many times you heard this test done? Probably doesn't cost much, eh? Anyway, what is cholesterol level in, then it shows that, okay, so here we go. What is the drug of choice for cytosterolemia? Ezetimibe. Let's Google ezetimibe. What is that? Ezetimibe. Okay. Ezetimibe is a dyslipidemic agent used to treat people with hyperlipidemia. Interesting. Ezetimibe, it's basically, it's an alternative to a statin. It does the same kind of thing. It was FDA approved in 2002. Ezetimibe is the most commonly used non-statin agent, which lowers LDL cholesterol levels by 13 to 20%. Ezetimibe is an inhibitor of intestinal cholesterol absorption. Okay, now, my mom went on ezetimibe. She got crazy side effects right away. She was itchy. She couldn't handle the itchiness. She stopped it. It was done. And this is something that, you know, you're going to have to make a choice. Is lowering your cholesterol a good idea? Well, let's look at this again. Is there essential plant sterols? Plant sterols might help reduce cholesterol by limiting the amount of cholesterol that is able to enter the body. Now, if we know cholesterol is made, most of it made by you. It's recycled in your bile and it's recycled. So plant sterols, obviously when they're present, is going to drop your cholesterol level. Is that a good idea? You decide. You tell me. So here we go. This is how my brain works. I want to know this shit because they tell us that canola oil is better. But here's the facts. Here's what we found today. Just by this 2-minute little search. When you heat up polyunsaturated fat, it goes rancid. So whether you heat it up or they heat it up, probably not a good idea to be eating deep fried food. That's my logic, right? If cholesterol does not cause atherosclerosis, which you decide this. This is what you're going to have to do. If it's a natural molecule that we need for life, almost every single function of our body requires cholesterol. There may be a reason why our cholesterol levels go up. So when they say bad LDL, what if it's not? Just saying what if. You're going to have to make your own decisions here because you're going to find this out and then somebody's going to knock you down. They're going to tell you that it is. But look at Harvard. Just told us in plain sight that nothing is proven. They claim polyunsaturated fat is better. They claim that it's healthy. They don't know for sure. So when you look at traditional methods of fat extraction, butter, coconut oil, olive oil, cold pressed, no chemicals required. Every single vegetable, seed, nut, oil, you need chemicals to treat it, to make it consumable, to make it usable. All saturated fat goes solid at room temperature and is stable with those double bonds that are straight line. There's no double bonds, which doesn't make it volatile to oxidation. So just looking at one thing doesn't make sense, but when you backtrack it, you backtrack the chemistry, you backtrack the biology, you backtrack the physiology, everything starts to make sense. And if saturated fat does not cause heart disease, high cholesterol does not cause heart. Saturated fat causing high cholesterol causing heart disease. All this falls apart. Now, I can't make any decisions for you. This is my opinion. This was just a quick example about how my brain works and the questions that I have and the diligence. And I don't want you to poison your kids. I don't want you to poison anything. I want you to have the choice to understand what's going on. And there's a lot of truth hidden in plain sight, not to mention the climate factor, where monocrop agriculture, fossil fuels, transportation, big refineries to get all these crops to break down into the oil. It still uses heat, but these poor cows are getting blamed on a pasture for methane and carbon dioxide and the carbon footprint. So before we judge and just accept what they say, look into it. Look all the way back. And you have to incorporate a lot of critical thinking here, because it's hidden in plain sight. The truth is there. You just have to know where to look. Leave me a comment below. Let me know if you found any kind of logic bombs or climate hypocrisy. Until then, guys, thanks for subscribing. Thanks for being here. Stay strong.